your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meets and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Abide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para-X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And merry meet everybody. My guest tonight is UFO expert Dr. Christopher Macklin, and we're going to be talking about the Vatican's cover-up on UFOs. Now, he's an author, health and welfare practitioner, medical intuitive and healer, a lot of other hats, and for the last 14 years, he's been assisting people in removing negative ET presence from their lives, clearing homes and land, and closing multidimensional portals, and we'll get into all that good stuff. But if you're listening now, and it's a live show, and if you're in the Para-X chat room, any questions and comments during the show are welcome. And if you're listening outside the chat room, why don't you pop over to paraxradionetwork.com and join us. All right, Dr. Macklin, welcome.
Yeah, Marla, thanks for having me here. Bless your heart. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, you have so many things to talk about. I mean, I could, once every 3 months I could have you on for different stuff. So
yeah, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah. All right, so I was reading a little bit that there was pressure growing on the Vatican to shed light whether it was aware of UFO beings retrieved from Italy in the 1930s, and then something about a slew of claims about the U.S. government's knowledge and handling of the contact life with aliens and stuff. So I just want to start off by saying that a few months ago, the Vatican held that press conference about apparitions and supernatural phenomenon, and all that apparently sent ripples through the UFO community, as the church was now doubling down on the idea that extraterrestrials exist and are perhaps part of God's creation. So I'm going to let you take it from there, because I want to talk about the connection between the Vatican and the off-planet ETs.
Absolutely. Well, the document was released, of course, by the Catholic Church, Catholic Church, and arrests the nature of responses surrounding phenomena and apparitions, but actually didn't mention ETs or UFOs, which is really interesting. So the bottom line is that they are now no longer willing to support saying something is supernatural, but they are more than willing to support that say it isn't supernatural. So I thought, well, that's really interesting. So, I think Moses is in big trouble here, as far as I can see. But anyway, so, and they said it 3 times in the document, no spiritual phenomena would be supported. That threatens the unity of the church. And, I thought that was very interesting. The Vatican, of course, is part of a trifecta of control within the planet. And, there's the Vatican, there's London, and, of course, there's Washington, D.C., and, whoever's in charge, people have different ideas, but it's part of the, what would you call it, deep state, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, to try and control the people. Very interesting.
So when you mentioned that, when I mentioned that off-planet ETs, what about the planet ETs? They're all around, aren't they? We're down here, yeah?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, ETs, extraterrestrials supposed to be, I suppose in quotes, not human beings. But we have a lot of them living under the planet. And we also, the Vatican also is connected very deeply to the Luciferians, which are also part of this planet. They live under the planet, and they don't come up. They live hundreds of miles down, but they don't breathe good oxygen, so that's why they stay well seated within the planet. But they're not good beings. They want control, like Anunnaki, Draconians, Luciferians. You've got like snake beings, and you've got Archons, and they're all here to try and there's a spiritual battle going on here, dark versus light. And, people sometimes probably don't realize how deep entranced the dark, or whatever you want to call it, satanic system is. But it's very interesting.
So they're all kind of waiting hiding in wait to some jump out and just take over or something. I mean, where does that come in?
I wish. Well, what's happened, what's grown over a period of time is these beings have got together. They wanted to take control of the planet for a very long time, but of course the human race and benevolent, good guys, ETs, want to actually really help us actually get over this transition. So what's happened is that, well, first of all, the planet is a free will planet. So if you look at the Keys of Enoch, not many people have probably looked at it because it should have been, scriptures in the Bible, but it wasn't. It was actually taken out. But the Keys of Enoch are the keys of the universe, and there's certain things that these benevolent, the good guys, ETs, cannot do, like interfere unless they're asked. And that's why at this time there's been a lot of starseed people. So what are starseed people? Well, to get over this, I can't interfere right now. Even Prime Creator, whoever created this, planet and universe, cannot get involved because that's the universal rule in this third dimensional world. So to get over that, what they've done is they've actually they've born through different methodologies some starseed people who have volunteered to come down here. Now, what were they thinking? I don't know. But anyway, they must have had a bad day or something. But they're born to come down here to really help and pull off-planet beings down here, so it gets over the third dimensional, Keys of Enoch. Mm-hmm. So, and they're here to help. There's probably 400 million of them, and but a lot of them are being attacked, of course, when they're down here.
We talk about sightings in the Vatican. I mean, there was some book, I think it was on my show, and it was like things that were in pictures that shouldn't have been there. And I remember seeing there was one picture that was, I think it was at the Vatican and stuff, and there was a flying saucer up there. Have there been sightings in the Vatican, recently or any time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually not just the Vatican. I think there have been more and more sightings generally. I mean, I've been connected to a lot of these off-planet ETs because of the work I do. I don't want to digress too much, but just to give you an example, mm-hmm. I had a guy in Arizona who had a horse retreat for horses who, wanted to live their life out, but no one wanted them. And bless his heart, and he looked after them, and what he's finding is he'd wake up in the morning and one of his horses was completely half-eaten by some off-planet extraterrestrials, and he was really upset. So he asked me, look, can you come out and help? So I went there for about 3 or 4 days, and what was happening, there was a portal there where off-planet beings, they're actually the grey reticula. If you look them up, if no one knows what they are, the grey reticula was actually taken off the planet in 2017. But they were coming through and they were eating these horses. And so I spent some time with this portal and managed to get it open and then shut it down completely. But when it opened, we have 3 watchers. If you look at the Keys of Enoch, they talk about the watchers, the guys in the sky who watch what's going on. And these 3 craft appeared, as soon as I opened this portal. And I said to them, well, why are you here? And they said, well, you might do some stupid things. And so we're going to keep an eye. What, me? Do stupid things? Oh. So, anyway, I managed to shut it down. It stopped, and that was it. But what was funny is that when these guys appeared, they were like 3 craft, and then went to 1. You know, they were going behind each other, 3 and 1. And then, of course, the military helicopters turn up, you know, flying well around them, you know, keeping away from them, but flying around, thinking, well, what do we do with these things? And, of course, the whole episode lasted for 40 minutes. As soon as I shut the portal down, bang, they were gone. So, and I've had a lot of interaction with craft and different things.
So maybe I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe some of the chupacabra things that people are saying that, you know, those little monsters, could they possibly be aliens?
Yeah, they could. I mean, there's a lot of different species. You know, there's thousands. I mean, people think, oh, you know, yeah, in this universe, there's only us and maybe 2 or 3 other ones. There's thousands and thousands of different, you know, types of alien beings, both good and bad, you know. I mean, if you look at the good ones, the main ones are, you know, the Palladians, the Arcturians, Sumerians, Atlantarians, Lumerians, Andromedans, Lyrans, and, you know, there's some others as well. Yeah. But they're the main ones who are helping us. Now, the bad ones that are trying to, you know, take over the planet and destroy humanity are the Anunnaki, Draconians, Luciferians, Archons, and, you know, there's also kind of snake beings involved as well. So, you know, there's a definite yin and yang here, you know?
Yeah. There's a question from the chat room. She wants to know if all grays are bad.
That's a very good question, actually. I don't believe all races are completely bad. I just think they get controlled by some crazy person at the top. I mean, the problem with the greys is the grey reticula, they were on reticula, which is in Orion's belt, and they destroyed their planet. That's why they came down here, signed a contract with Hitler, and said, "Hey, we want to abduct your people. Here's a bit of technology for you, you know." And it's like giving the keys to a Ferrari to a, you know, 6-month-old. You know, it's not a good idea. But anyway, they did that, of course, and that then continued when the demise of Hitler happened. It was transferred on the paperclip project over here, and the contract was signed again. And they kept giving us technology, but kept abducting our people. And this is an interesting thing, if I may bring it up, is what's the difference between violation and education? This third dimensional world is full of crazy things. Like, for example, you know, these negative beings, which are they're the same space but different time. They can attach to you and they can ride around with you, and people don't know about it. It can make them very sick because they suck the energy out of you, you know, they block your meridian structure. So is that a violation or education? And the answer is it's an education. Why is that? Because before you come down here, you're shown what sort of things you're going to encounter, and to be, you know, to be diligent about how to actually address these things. That's why we come down here. It's an extreme classroom. But what happens if a bunch of ETs destroy their planet with nuclear things and come down here and sign a contract with your government saying, okay, government, look, here's some, you know, technology. We're going to abduct your people. Is that okay? Yeah, I'll sign it. Is that a violation of education? Of course it's a violation. And, you know, I chaired the Galactic Federation I chaired with 2 other Melchizedek beings, and I was taken on in 2017 to discuss this actual thing, and it was decided to take them off the planet because it's a complete violation. And so they were swept off the planet by the Arcturians.
Another quick question. She said, did she hear you say that if we invite the good ones help, they will come? Yeah.
The problem is, you know, there's going to be a lot of people out there who are really struggling. Because starseed people, they get attacked absolutely relentlessly. You know, for example, when I was born as a Melchizedek being, 2 days old, I was in hospital for a year with, I had 8 strokes. Came out of hospital, then a few years later, I burnt my back so bad, I went back in hospital for another year. And 289 times they've tried to take me out. Now, you have to have an inordinate amount of strength within you to be able to overcome these things because they're relentless. You know, when you get an attachment, like, for example, just take an Anunnaki. If it attaches to you, it's 10 foot 6 tall. You can't see it. It sits in the abdomen. It hangs on the shoulders, so shoulders and neck are tight. Taps in the lower back, starts to damage the L4, L5 disc, sends you negative thoughts all day. So when you go out, you go to work, and God, no, you get these thoughts, but they're you thoughts. They're not I thoughts. Oh, no one likes you. Your boss can't stand you. Your work's pathetic, and you just get these thoughts all the time, and people start to believe it when it's not true. Mm-hmm. And so they attack people relentlessly because they don't want you to shine. Because if you're a starseed, you're here to help. You're going to get out there and do some amazing things in this world, and these beings are trying to shut you down. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of diligence and a lot of policing, including things like maps of intent, which I call maps of intent are prayers. But it takes a lot of prayer, a lot of dedication, a lot of meditation and everything else to get your vibration up so you can really step out there and do things. And they're being attacked, these poor guys who have volunteered to come down here.
So another question said, who did you say was taken off the planet?
The grey reticular. The greys, basically.
Okay. Another question. How does one invite the good aliens to visit?
Well, what you need to do is meditate. One of the things, if you're a starseed, this is really interesting. If you want to be helped down here, if you're a starseed person, you need to spend time, meditating to talk to your starseed family, because you're from Pleiades or you're from, Arcturus, wherever you're from. And it's very interesting because when I first, I went bankrupt, all this sort of thing, and I started meditating, saw I was accused that being and started meditating with them. And I said, okay, guys, I'm ready. Open my mind, nothing happened. Did it next day. Week went by, month went by. I was thinking, oh, they're not contacting me. And what was interesting is eventually I just said, well, guys, I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to contact you and we're going to connect. And after probably about, I think it was 2 to 2.5 months, who knows, they actually started contacting me. And what I learned very quickly is because the reason why they don't do it straight away is they want to see your dedication. And if you're not dedicated, they don't waste their time with a person who's not dedicated. And you can understand it. Mm-hmm. It sounds brutal, but it's true.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's brutal. But anyway, as soon as that happened, crazy things happened. I went to Belize, saw my past lives, and went all over the world. And, here we are in America doing stuff here. I love it. It's amazing.
Another question. How can you tell you're a starseed?
That's a really good question. It's really easy because you don't fit in at all with the human race. For example, you're a complete empath. So if someone talks behind your back, instead of saying, well, whatever, you'll get mortified. You don't fit in with the normal behavior of humanity. You're loving, kind, caring, but you see things differently. You probably want to be alone a lot of the time. You're not interested in the normal things in life like football and hockey and everything else. You're more interested in probably things like crystals and being amongst the trees and things like that. You're just very different. And I get a lot of starseeds. I work on 2,000 people-ish a week, and the amount of people I hear saying, well, I don't fit in, and I wish I could just fit in. I said, why would you want to fit into this third dimensional world? It's not a pleasant place to be. Why don't you actually detach from it and think, yes, I don't fit in, don't shame yourself, and start doing some work so that you can actually get out there and help other people instead of trying to fit into a matrix where, you're taught to just, enslave, basically. Monetary enslaved, every enslavement. Even to the point of doing work, people on the hamster wheel of life, and they get guilty if they're not at work doing some things. And I'm kind of thinking, well, why don't you take a day or two off and take a step back, relax, and start meditating and doing some different things. Go amongst the trees. Trees are incredible beings. We just moved into our house we built, which is in 40 acres of woods, and it's just it's just stunning. When we come down here, you can feel them take all the energy away from you that's angsty, and they talk. Well, you can communicate with them. Let's put it that way. So, yeah,
we say that. So let me see. There was a question I wanted to bring up. Oh, about religion. How to contact with both positive and negative ETs. How has that shaped our religion and spiritual practices?
I really don't like religion at all. I believe in, you've got your own connection with God. But, let's take, for example, Christianity. In the Bible, there's some really good things. There are some good things. It's never all wrong. Mm-hmm. There's some great good things in the Bible. But if you take, for example, communion, and I always bring this up, and people say, well, how dare you? But communion is drinking the blood of Jesus and eating his flesh. Now, that's not sounding so good to me. So why are we doing that? Oh, because of the new covenant. Okay, so it says that in the Bible. So let's go and investigate the new covenant. It goes straight back to the Vatican. It's all about sacrifice. So that tells you that what they've done is they've kind of manipulated people into doing a blood ritual every Sunday without even realizing it. It's not fair, but it happens. And that's why I think I always go back to, it's really important to use your discernment. Discern everything. If you go to religion, it's like Buddhism. Some of it's hijacked, some of it's great. They've all got good facets in them. But I think you have to, really pick the good parts of that religion out and run with it if you need a religion. Personally, I don't think anyone needs a religion because you're a God being. Why would you need a pastor or anybody else? Why don't you just meditate with your beings, with God, and get a direct connection? Because, once you meditate, you get downloads, you start knowing things. It's just unbelievable. It really is.
Another comment or question in the chat room, what about UFO-based religions? Or are there?
Well, there's communities. Is it a religion? I'm not sure. People believe in UFOs, people don't. I've seen UFOs. I've connected with them. I've been on one. I've had a lot of experience with it, and it's not a religion. It's just really beings trying to help us down here. That's the ones I've been on. I don't want to go on an Anunnaki or Draconian ship at all because you probably never come back. But is it a religion? But I think what's happened is that what they're trying to do. The negative ETs down here, a lot of them live under the planet. The Draconians live on Planet X. And I think what they've done is they've tried to infiltrate the religions and put some darkness so that they can feed off that loosh. And it's the same with the Vatican. The Vatican worships Lucifer. If you look at all the Luciferian symbology in the Vatican, it's overwhelming. And, and people probably don't see that. So,
yeah. I think chat room again, you mentioned something about downloads, and they were wondering if they cause headaches sometimes.
They can actually, yeah. Well, when you get a download, it's a download of information, and yeah, of course, the energy from that can definitely give you headaches sometimes. But it's funny because sometimes you don't realize you have downloads, and you just come across something in life, and suddenly you're talking about it, and you think, where on earth did I get this information from? It's just there, And sometimes, I can channel something where, I didn't even know. I remember going to Hawaii and I was talking to quite a big bunch of people about different things. And, when I'd finished, I turned to somebody and said, but was that okay? Because I don't even remember what I said because it was channeled, it was amazing. So channeling and downloads and all these things, it's just that you've got to make sure you're connecting to the right off-planet beings and not the negative ones.
How can you tell?
Well, the best idea is, if you're channeling, what you should do is ask that being, are you of God? Now, if it's Anunnaki Draconian, it will say nothing, or it will say, I'm not, I know, or something like that. But they never do say no. They just don't say anything, thinking, oh, you might just, I might get away with it. Because what happens with reptilians is it's really interesting. And I've seen people channel reptilians. A lot of channels do. And they don't realize it, God bless them. So what happens is, say Marla, they're talking to you. So, well, you're going to be a host, or right, you should have da-da-da. And, yeah, you're amazing. You've got a great audience, and you're doing great work. And then suddenly they'll come up with some crazy thing like, well, you're going to move to France. You're going to buy this house with a pink roof, red doors, and, some crazy thing. And you're kind of thinking, oh. And what they do is they give you 3 truths and 1 lie. So, because if they gave you a lie, you would use your intuition. But because the things they've told you before are so pronounced, like, wow, then the thing that sends you off balance and, off the track of the divine path is you'll think, oh, well, they must be right. Well, they're not. And that's why, we have to be diligent. So if you're ever channeling or talking to your off-planet family, ask them, are you of God? And they'll say, yes, I am of God. If they say that, they're a God being. If they don't say anything at all, then they're not God beings.
And they wouldn't lie, would they?
They can't. They're not allowed to. That universal law is, again, one of the there's certain laws, it'd be worth, if anyone's interested, have a look at the Keys of Enoch, but there's certain laws where you can't lie when you ask certain things. And one of them is that, are you of God? And if it's not of God, everything's God being. But I'm talking, about, being a God-like being on this planet. Mm-hmm. And if you ask it that and it's not, then it will not say anything most of the time.
Mm. And some people say, if they look up in the sky and they see a UFO, that it'll bring it down. Or, it's like calling them. Is that easy, to have communication that way?
It can be. I mean, don't forget, these craft and beings use telepathy. I think the problem is down here is that people have got such busy minds. They're not willing to actually clear their mind and talk. I mean, it's like that day, at the ranch. I talked to those beings. I said, okay, guys, why are you here? Well, we're your watchers. I said, okay, why do I need watchers? Well, you might do some crazy stuff. And I thought, well, they must know me pretty well.
There you go.
Yeah, you got it right. Because they would, because if you get into trouble, they would tractor beam you up and take you off planet. And they don't like doing that because the problem is when you get off planet, you kind of don't want to come back. And so they don't really take beings away, unless there's something really urgent or something really crazy is going to go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So does it do we all have a watcher? Or is it just certain people?
That's a good question. There are certain watchers for certain people who are meant to do certain things, but there are also craft as well where they're taking care of, for example, the children or taking care of the adults in certain areas. So they tend to be bigger craft. The watchers have to intervene because there's certain people meant to do certain things down here. And so they need to make sure they're going to be okay and alive so that they can actually fulfill their destiny. And so, that's why they have watchers.
Like some people have spirit guides and stuff, we call on them and whatever. Could we call upon, somebody and ask them to be around or help giving information or something?
Oh, yeah, that's why the spirit guides are there. They're there to help guide you. And, mm-hmm. I'd encourage everyone to, really, again, through meditation, learn who they are, learn what their names are, and talk to them. One of mine is Mother Mary, because she's a Melchizedek being. So she's there a lot, and it's interesting because sometimes, everyone thinks she's really sweet and everything else, and sometimes I get a roasting. You need to get your hair cut, you need to sort your nails, I thought, why are you talking about this?
Yeah, nonsense, yeah.
Listen, Mother Mary, Jill, but she's got so much wisdom. I just laugh at that bit, and she laughs as well. But she did say about my wife's car. She said, you need to change that car right now. I said, why? Just change it right now. And anyway, we changed it. There was something wrong with it. And, went back to the dealer. They fixed it. And they sold it to somebody else. But, it was fixed. But I didn't know. She just said, change that car because, I need my wife around. And, of course, so there's certain things that they do guide you. It was interesting. I got a little story in Delhi, but I was in Delhi. I went to McLeod didn't see the Dalai Lama because I didn't want to, but I went also to Punjab region, went back to Delhi to fly back in India, and I was at the Tibetan Northern camp, and And I was sitting there, and they said, you need to change your ticket. Who was that? Yeah, it's us. You need to change your ticket. Why? Just change your ticket. Now, these were the days when I'd gone bankrupt, had no money, managed to get enough money and someone sponsored me to go there. And I had to find £70, which is like how many dollars, who knows, but probably about the same now, who knows. But so I had to find $70. And anyway, I managed to find it, changed my ticket. On the day I was meant to leave, the plane I had been on never took off. It went to the end of the runway and blew up and killed everyone on board. And I go, wow, that's crazy. That's another attempt to get you off the planet for the destiny you're meant to fulfill. So these things are real, you know. That's all I'm saying.
All right. It's time for a break, so everybody sits tight, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
Throughout time, events have occurred that have shaped human history. Spirit voices from the past have many stories to tell, and for the past several years, channelers Barry and Connie Strom have been conducting live channeling sessions and relaying those stories and messages from those on the other side. We invite you to tune in to Barry and Connie's new show, Channeling History, on the PowerX Radio Network, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, as they relay the messages of those voices from the past, the ones who have witnessed history firsthand, and those who have made history themselves.
Hey everyone, it's Marla. If you like tonight's episode of Stirring the Cauldron and the archive podcast as well, take a look at the show's YouTube channel and check out the dozens of shows that are there just waiting to be heard. New shows are added each week, and while you're there, why not subscribe? It's free. And if you click on that tiny little bell icon at the top of the page, you'll be notified when new shows are available. Just go to youtube.com and then type in Stirring the Cauldron Para X and the link will appear. Just like magic.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guest is Dr. Christopher Macklin, and we're talking about the Vatican cover-up and UFOs and more. And I've got more questions from the chat room. I've read somewhere that the Watchers were angels. Could that be true?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, they're angelic beings because they're benevolent ETs. I mean, you know, it's like, for example, if you take Archangel Michael, you know, he's a very ancient Palladian, very evolved, and he's here to help a lot of people. So, absolutely, you know, they're angels. Yeah, the Watchers are angels. But they use craft because they might, you know, live a long way away, maybe even in a different dimension. And so they use craft to be able to, you know, get here and really help people.
Okay. There was something I was looking here, and I'm scribbling and trying to write my handwriting. Can you talk a little bit about the military and the church are seeking to control the narrative around ETs and why?
Well, I think the church, if you look at the church, all you have to do is follow the money. I mean, you know, the thing they said that, you know, they said 3 times in the document that spiritual phenomena will not be supported, that threatens the unity of the church, which is the Vatican. So how many parishioners they have? Probably about 2 million. Imagine, you know, each week how much kind of money they make from those 2 billion parishioners, and that'd be an inordinate amount of money. So it's sad, and it's the same with Christianity. It's the same all over. You know, there's a lot to do with, you know, the money when, you know, they want to keep their cash flow going, but they don't want to tell the truth. I mean, there's so much information in the Vatican and so much manipulation in the Vatican that it's, you know, it's crazy. I remember, you know, I had a nun. She was actually in the US. I won't tell you where, of course, but anyway, I was doing a healing with her one day. She was really blocked. I said, wow, what's happened here? Well, I was a nun. And she had left the Vatican. I said, oh, right. I said, did you get like a letter from the Pope? She goes, yeah. I said, is it symbology? Could you read it? She goes, no. I said, let's go have a look at it. And I asked them to translate it. And basically it was just blocking her life for the rest of her days. I said, are you willing to do a ceremony and burn this? And she goes, yeah. So on the morning, I was back in, you know, the office, and she was there, and I phoned her up. She goes, we can't burn it. I said, why not? Well, there's a gale force 8 wind. Whoa, hang on. I said, give me 1 minute. And I asked the Mackln beings, God, remove this manipulation. The wind stopped straight away. So anyway, what we did is for all the things involved with the manipulation, we brought them before God for justice and released them to God with unconditional love. And we burned that paper. Within 5 minutes, I ran into the bathroom and I was so sick because they were transmitting frequencies to me. So the Vatican's very powerful, and it's got a lot of technology. It's a very interesting place.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was told that there's a governing spiritual ET body that watches over the earth and is helping to maintain balance. Is there one such thing? And why are they watching over? Yeah.
Well, it's called the Galactic Federation. They watch over all the third dimension world, many planets, not just ours. I actually chair it along with 2 other Mackln beings, and it meets periodically when there's big issues, like with the Grey Reticular, when they were actually abducting people, because that's completely against the rules, and they were swept off the planet. So that's the Galactic Federation. They do police things. They do watch the difference between violation and education, because, like I said, we volunteer to come down here. You know, when God says, look, guys, I need volunteers for planet Earth, everyone rushes, yeah, I'll do it, because, you know, in a different dimension, everything's like love, and you don't have to worry about money and everything else. And they say, well, are you sure? They say, oh, yeah, we'll be fine, you know, and then you get down here. And a lot of people, you know, I've heard it, what was I thinking? Coming down here. I always recommend people, you know, look, if God says I want volunteers, run to the bathroom, shut the door, pretend you've got diarrhea, and then come out, oh, sorry, God, maybe not this time. But it's just a joke, because honestly, Marla, I love being down here, but it's not an easy journey. And, you know, that's why I'm here to help people. I don't believe in gurus. You are your own guru, you know. But, you know, I just believe I'm a facilitator to help people get back on track so they can get out there and be their beautiful guru self, you know.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to stay, or could you go back if you wanted, or what?
Well, I've got some things to do. One of them is a very big pyramid project. We're building an off-planet pyramid. It's going to be sited in the US somewhere. I can't say where it is. In fact, it's 3. One's 1,000 feet tall, one's almost 700 feet tall, and one's all 300 and something feet tall. And they're going to be sited because what's happened is that the pyramids on the ley lines now have been shut down and the capstones are removed, so they don't have the energy they used to. So these new pyramids we're building will help raise the planet's vibration by siting them at the right place on a ley line juncture. So it will really increase the energy on the planet.
That's kind of like, do you think that we talk about the Egyptian pyramids that were supposedly just housing bodies, but do you think that that had another meaning as well that we just don't think about?
Oh, no, I mean, they were built off planet, you know, for sure. And they were brought here by, again, you know, good guy ETs, benevolent ETs, which were helping us try and raise the planet's vibration. I mean, this has been going on. All this has been going on for a very long time. I mean, you look at Atlantis. I mean, all this that's happening now happened then. Only there was a fall and demise of it. This time, I think we've got it right, and so hopefully, the humanity will transition into a very new world where it's not enslaved anymore. Enslavement is over.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that there are ETs and all over here, but there are people that are just, don't believe it or whatever. Is there some kind of physical proof, if any, that there's already an alien presence on the planet?
Well, there's a big presence of reptilian hybrids as well. Now, it's interesting because you can always feel them. I actually dated one without even realizing it, and I was sitting there, and the woman was mean. I was sitting there, why are you so mean, Anyway, there's a very simple prayer. If you think someone's a reptilian, you can tell, because when they come near you, you feel the darkness in your chest. So just do the prayer, and it basically goes like this. Ground yourself. I am of God. I ground myself to the earth. Dear God, I command you, show this person in their true form. Now, if they're a reptilian shapeshifter, what will happen is that instead of the human form, you'll see an overlay. It's opaque, but it's very visual. It's like an opaque overlay of a reptilian. So if anyone wants to use that prayer, it's on the website. I've used it a number of times to identify people. So, but sometimes people just don't believe things. I mean, there's so many different races on this planet. 65% of non-character players been born out of a pod with AI. So, it's crazy. The amount of human beings here is not as many as you think, proper human beings. And to me, to get a human being, you need a lady's womb, proper womb with the God energy. You can't just bear something in a plastic tube. It doesn't work like that because there's not the energetics to bring the soul in. So what happens is you get an AI version of it, and that's what they've been doing.
Another question from the chat room. Is it the ETs that are keeping control over us, knowing about them and the agenda, or is our leaders taking that upon themselves?
That's a good question, actually, because the problem is in this country. It's Biden or it's Trump, it's they're talking about the politics and everything else. It's nothing to do with that. This whole government here, including all these, these three-letter agencies, are just puppets for these beings down here. These beings are really powerful. They have all the technology. So the guys up on the planet are just players, like Bill Gates, like all these people. And in fact, if you look at one of Bill Gates's ventures, what he wants to do is block out the sun. Why does he want to do that? And the answer is because, like I said before, these reptilians are hundreds of feet down in the planet. They breathe a lot less oxygen than we are. So what they want them to do is to actually, cover, block out the sun enough that they can kill the plant life, so they can actually reduce the oxygen, so they can get these beings on top of the planet. And believe you me, we do not want these beings on top of the planet. So there's all sorts of agendas going on.
Yeah, there's got to be. You just think about it, and it's makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. How openly acknowledging the alien presence will shift how we view our place in the world universe?
I think it'll scare. Well, I think it'll scare people at first, but when they realise there's good guys who are helping us, and I think there's going to be a big revelation of ET beings, because even my father, I spoke to him one day. Well, there's only us in the universe. I thought, oh, okay, that's a bit egotistical to think, but the universe is infinite, and there's only us in the universe. But who knows? But there's so many people who think that. I don't think they want to put their mind there. It takes a lot, Well, it takes a lot to be able to start identifying. Okay, these are good races. These are the bad races. Sometimes I get people who say to me that there must be on this planet something that's not manipulated. And I'm going, hang on, let me think. That'd be everything. Everything. And so there's a lot to turn around. there's a lot of things to do to get the planet back on track. I mean, even the monetary system. You look at the dollar bill. It's not a bill. It's a promise to pay note. So you go to your local shop and you say, well, I'll buy that chicken. I'll give you a promise to pay notes of 5 of them. It's not a payment. It's just promising. And so you get the chicken and they pass it on. And, the whole thing is just so crazy when you think about it. It's nuts. But I do love it. It's just nuts. So.
Well, yeah. Somebody, okay, I'm going really good with the chat room. In reality, can you actually build a relationship and communicate with an ET? I mean, like, not just meditation, but in reality. I mean, face to face.
Oh yeah. And again, this is interesting actually, because just imagine, getting an apparition. Some ET comes to your bedroom in the middle of the night. You're lying in bed and suddenly, they're not allowed. They're not allowed to show themselves unless you're evolved enough that you're okay with it, accepted them, and not getting fearful. And that's again one of the rules of the universe. They just can't just show up, standing around your bedroom, talking to you, when they know you'd be so fearful and frightened to death. So, I mean, I've had Mother Mary, come in my room, in my bedroom, talking to me about different things because we work very closely together, especially on this pyramid project.
Mm-hmm. When is this going to happen?
Well,
more or less.
We were hoping way before now, but of course, as things are going south, there's no way we'd ever put pyramids down here with the current thing, world and in transition that it is. But I would say by 2027.
Okay.
I mean, it's a huge project,
I would think
way
so.
out of my league. We're talking about, the cost of the land, which is, 100,000 acres. You've got to build an infrastructure. You've got to do this and that. You're talking about $200 billion. And I just, no, don't have that at all.
Not in your back pocket.
No, I don't seem. I mean, I've got about $20 spare. So I don't think that's going to cut the mustard. But we have some people who, are connected to the large banking system. But again, right now is they're dipping their toe in a very satanic world. The banking system's really difficult to navigate. So it'll all change around at the right time. I believe in God's timing. It'll always happen exactly at the right time, and not a second before.
All right, I've got a whimsical question for you from the chat room. How many musicians are aliens or inspired by aliens?
I personally think that most, like Tchaikovsky and many others, were inspired. In fact, I think they got downloads. I think they channeled a lot of things, and that goes for a lot of scientists as well. They channel things, and so. Would I know how many? Probably not, but I would say most of the really talented people. I'm not talking about the pop stars and the Hollywood stuff. To me, I don't believe there's any talent there at all. I'm talking about the composers and people who. There's some people who really, really are amazing at singing. And even for example, I've seen boys at the age of 4. They go and sit at a piano, and they're better than a concert pianist, and you kind of think, but you're only 4. How do you do it? And of course, how they do it is they're channeling it. And then there's some beautiful singers as well. And it's sad because the whole journey of manufactured sound, manufactured singing, manufactured movies, it's all manufactured. If we actually, I believe one day when we go back to our roots, get the right tones out, and get the right people out instead of manufactured people, I think you're going to, I mean, we listen to a lot of music, and there's some great, great people out there, They'll never get big, of course, with Universal Records or anyone like that, because they want the manufactured stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing, talk about how Earth is a spiritual classroom containing both positive and negative ETs. And how does this work?
Well, people come down here to spiritually evolve. Now, this is an extreme evolvement because I mean, I always laugh at people. As soon as you get down here, you come out the vaginal opening, and you see in the corner, oh, there's the RS. Welcome to Earth. Here's your invoice. And once you got your invoice, things go crazy after that. And, you're attacked relentlessly. Look at me, 2 days old. And I was in hospital for a year with 8 strokes because they wanted me out of it. They wanted to take me out. And then other things happen. And so you're pursued relentlessly. If you just somebody who's just normal, like, doesn't want to grow spiritually, not interested, just goes to work, comes home, watches TV, cooks dinner, goes to bed, and they're not doing anything, these negative ETs aren't interested. They're not interested in them because they know that they're not a threat. But what they are interested in is people who want to really grow and make a difference, and they'll attack you relentlessly.
I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but who are the cabals?
Who are the cabal? Well, the cabal, the Illuminati, to me it's all the same. It's all in government. It's interesting because it's based around the Masonic Lodge. I don't really know this, but the Masonic Lodge is, to me, an evil entity. But of course, people join it. They're first-degree Mason, and they join it. Oh, this is a great, kind of business thing. Da da da. When you get to 10 degrees, you're worshipping Lucifer. And they're, what? What's Lucifer? Oh, it's light. Don't worry about it. So you carry on, and you can go to 33 degrees in the Masonic Lodge. But then you worship Lucifer, which is part of the Vatican, which is the trifecta. Then what happens after that? Well, you go to 34 to 37 degrees, which is Bohemian Grove, which basically is the top level where, 37-degree Masons are the bankers like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, all these three people. 36-degree Masons are the world leaders, so you can see who's in charge. That would be the bankers. And that's why I think this transition that we're going through right now is very important, because hopefully it'll topple all that and get back, I would like to see America get back to state-driven, control, not, federal control, and where they put all the power back to the states, because then I think it's going to dilute this huge cabal system. But the cabal is falling. I mean, it's falling. You can see it,
I'm seeing here, and I'm seeing they're looking down on us, and it's like people looking under a microscope to see what we're going to do now and how stupid we're going to do or how well we're going to do. We're just kind of guinea pigs, maybe, for a new race or something down the line. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think, we were created as loving beings and everything else, and I think we were then infiltrated. But I think one of the biggest things is this universal laws. They're very strict. You're not allowed to break them. Even Prime Creator, who created this third-dimensional world, is not allowed to break them. So, of course, they look for ways of manipulating. I mean, one of the universal rules is you always have to tell them what's going to happen before it happens. And so you look at The Simpsons, 9/11, and different things that have happened. Different films come out, the zombies. There's been all these films, but they're way before. So they have told you, maybe in a roundabout way, but they have got over the keys of Enoch, or the keys of the universe. So very interesting.
Another question from the chat room. They were told that by a UFO investigator that if you can see a UFO, it's close enough to abduct, and that your home is absolutely filled with beings watching us.
Well, I would say if it's close enough, yeah. I mean, they can see us. Is it filled with beards watching us? There's beards watching us all the time, in a different time, same space. And, that's why when I do healing on people, I always talk to them about it, that, we need to put you in a sacred space. So I put them in a portal and bond it into Merkaba fields, which is a sacred geometric structure, so they can't penetrate that whilst we're doing healings. But, these beings walk amongst us all the time. I mean, I can see them. Sometimes I go to a restaurant and you can see like a draconian in the corner of the room, and people can't see it, but, it's kind of off-putting. That's why I've learned to actually tune out of that, so I could just go out, ignore them, have a nice meal or do some fun things, because I don't want to see that all the time. but there's an inordinate amount of them, probably way, way more of them than there are of us. And so that's why, as Jesus talked about, they hunt in packs. They don't hunt alone.
We're getting close to the end, and you're talking about healing people. How can they get in touch with you? Do you do things over the internet, or do you, because thousands a week, you must be really tired. But how do people get healing from you?
Well, you can go to, the best idea is go to globalenlightenmentproject.com, which is the website. We do 2 healings a week, which is basically by donation. Excuse me. I do that because it's really important to me that everyone gets a healing. So 5 p.m. Central Time on Thursday and 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, we do it every week, and we go through most things, so everyone gets a healing, and you can join. If you've got no money, don't worry about it. That's why we do it. And then we do specialized groups, which is up to 20 people. Then we do one-to-ones. And then we do a lot of other things, like, we create meditation so people can use them for things like immune systems. And, we do a lot. We've also got this thing on Friday called Heart Sharing Circle, where I found that a lot of spiritual people, I don't know about you, Marla, but so many spiritual people are on their own. They have no one to talk to. Everyone thinks they're nuts. And so, this gives them the opportunity to get on the Zoom meeting and just share and be amongst like-minded people. And I think that's really important as well. So you can join that for free. It's on Fridays. There's plenty to do.
You're all around. So give it that website one more time.
It's globalenlightenmentproject.com.
All right. Now, with all the questions that came up today, I think at some point, and I'm going to ask everybody their opinion, to have you come back just to ask questions, not anything particular.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, guys, let me know if that's something that you would like to do, and then we can do it. We can make it easier that way.
I'd love that. I love answering questions because there's so many unusual questions come out sometimes. I think it's great, I really do. So I'd love to come back. That's sure.
And, some people say, well, this is a stupid question, or I'm afraid to ask a question. But you know what? No question is stupid. And
no, I agree, actually. I've had that before. Well, this might sound ridiculous, but actually, no, it's not. It's a great question. And the answer is going to help so many different people, So.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to toddle off here now, and I'll be in touch with everybody that wants to have that happen, and including you, sir.
Let's do it.
We'll do it. And so thank you for taking the time this evening or night, depending where you are. And it was really interesting, and do come back. And I want to thank everybody that listens in as well. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.